Plus, it's her and a little girl now. It's not just her anymore, you know? So if she fails for two, not just her.
That's powerful.
It
Fails
is.
for two.
Yeah.
Hi, welcome back this week. I'm Dr. Tammy.
And I'm Crystal.
I have a great new co-host. We're doing a 4-part series, and we're calling this series Unstoppable. One of the things that's come up recently is we're looking at fear of opportunities, and we're going to talk a little bit about that in just a minute. But this 4-part series is going to be exploring why you might not be reaching your goals, or when you feel like there's something that you might want but you don't feel like maybe you just don't deserve it, or you might feel like there's things in the way. So we're really excited, and we're going to integrate these interviews, and then we'll kind of dissect them out a little bit. We'll kind of be the therapist after the fact.
Right.
And so anyway, kind of, Crystal, tell the story. When we were trying to set up these interviews, you kind of took that on to ask people.
Yes, we were setting up these interviews, and I wanted to get a wide range of women in different parts of their lives and different weight loss journeys and what they're going through or struggling through. And I really ran into a brick wall of women that were just confident enough to get in front of a camera, to sit in front of a camera and say, this is what's going on, this is what I'm struggling with, this is where I need help, you know. It was just finding anyone that wanted to be in front of a camera that had that kind of motivation was really hard to find. It was like, I mean, it was impossible, next to impossible. I mean, I out of 50 women, I probably got 10 that said yes out of 50. And that to me was crazy. That was crazy to me.
Yeah. Well, you have all the confidence in the world. And I remember you called me and you're like, that's crazy to me. And so we kind of talked about it. And I know you kind of felt disappointed because you'd kind of taken that responsibility on to set that up. And I remember just thinking conversations that I've had with my camera people in the past. And they always point out, you're so comfortable in front of the camera. Right. And so I'm like, yeah, I mean, because I was a kid that I've tried a light kid around with me since I was in my teens. And, you know, I'm just the camera ham and the girl.
Yeah.
But I'm actually kind of insecure. You know, that's the reality.
Really?
And so, you know, where that comes from, I think, is we kind of talked about what's unstoppable. And we'll kind of go through our first story, Jessica's story, here in just a little bit. But, you know, they say that public speaking is like the #1 fear.
That's what I hear. One of the girls I was talking to that I was thinking about asking to do it, she said she literally cried in front of her class of 6 people. 6 people she had to stand in front of and give a speech, and she just broke down and cried. To me, that's just... let me do it. You got 12 people? Put 12 people out there, you know? So it was just crazy to me that it causes that much fear in people.
And it's those early experiences, and I think that people don't really honor that because we just kind of go through our lives, and then, you know, something comes up in an opportunity, and fight, flight, or freeze. And most of us just freeze.
Exactly.
And then things just skate by us, and then we make all these excuses, and I don't want to be, excuse almost seems like a dirty word.
It does. It almost makes you seem like you're... We'll touch on that later.
Okay.
We'll touch on that later. That's a whole other ballgame. Excuses.
It makes you seem weak.
Yes.
When it's an excuse.
Yes.
When it's a reason, it's okay.
Right.
And I always say, when you want something bad enough, you find a way. And when you don't, you find an excuse.
You find a way
So
out.
it really is about priorities and what you want. So we're going to take a little commercial break. We'll be back in just a minute, and we're going to share Jessica's story. Welcome back to the Naked Doctor Show. I'm Dr. Tammy.
And I'm Crystal.
And we have a great show today. We're talking about being unstoppable. Next up, we're going to have an interview from a young girl named Jessica. And I think it's very interesting once we kind of dug under the layers what her real fear is.
We had to pull it out of her.
Had to pull it out of her just a little bit.
I honestly think I would probably go back to school to get my master's in nutrition. Time? It took me so long to get my degree in the first place with children and being a mom. We just started homeschooling our 3 children, and so I think if I went back to school, that would kind of cut into their education. I want to say it's the time, but it's probably just an excuse because the last time I did my bachelor's degree, I did that with kids who were at home. I think I'm just afraid of success, to be honest. I just always have been. I feel like if I get up to that point, like even in my business now, I feel like if I get to be a big deal or if people know me, like I feel like that's just, I don't know, it's just really scary to me to be successful. It honestly is like, you know, I always felt not good enough or I wasn't enough. And so it's kind of like that little voice in the back of my head, like, no, you can't do that, you can't be that. You gotta stay in your little bubble. Yeah, it's safe. I don't have to be disappointed. And I don't have to just, I don't know, feel bad.
So Jessica's story, I think that's very interesting.
Woo.
Several elements in there.
Oh my gosh.
As we dissect through that,
Yes.
I think we come up to excuses, right? Because that kind of starts with that excuse.
Yes.
An excuse is a bad word, right?
She did finally break down and say, I think that's just an excuse. That was her exact words. Yeah.
And, you know, to me, the word excuse is, yeah, it's just got that negative connotation, like we said, because it is failure in and of itself. If you have to make an excuse, you're already failing to start out, so nobody's going to claim
Right.
that they're making excuses.
You're just finding an acceptable reason to fail versus just failing.
Yeah.
Oh, I had an excuse. I had a reason. Then it's acceptable to fail, you know.
Yeah, so she was talking about being a photographer, and that was a really big goal for her. And,
Right.
you know, she had her bachelor's degree, and then she's doing this photography thing, which kind of sounds to me like she's really using her gifts and her talents. So to look at that on the surface, everyone would buy that excuse that, you know, going on to school would be time away from her kids,
Right.
and she's already doing
She's already
what
got
she
a
loves.
business going. She's already doing amazing.
Yeah,
Yes.
we look at that from the outside, but when you look under the layers, she really wants to go back and do
Right.
nutrition
And do better.
and get her master's degree and have that next level of success.
Yes.
But then she's clearly scared of that, but she doesn't really know why. So she actually admits that, well, it's time. That's her excuse, right?
Right.
And then she comes back and she says, well, that's not really true because I actually had small kids when I got my bachelor's.
When she was in college and did amazing.
Yeah.
It took a lot of time, but she did amazing.
Yeah. So if you look back on that, you're like, well, that doesn't make sense.
Right.
That disconnect happens.
Wait,
a
let's
little
really
bit.
break that down. Let's really dissect that because you already had the time and you already pushed through that. So what's really going on here?
Yeah, so then it really just comes down to that she's got this fear of success. So today we're kind of going to dissect those two things between the fear of success and the fear of failure.
Right.
And actually, they're the same thing.
They are. They both stop you from succeeding. Just point blank, period. Both of them do the same thing. Whether it's fear of failure or fear of success, you're still not getting that success.
And really, and we kind of stopped the interview there, but really the fear of success, she didn't, you know, really go that much further in that because really it was about playing small. It wasn't even
Right.
really the fear of success, but
Small and safe.
small and safe. That's what safe is.
Yep.
And it's so cute because, you know, you said before the show that you were asking your family members who could be afraid of succeeding. That just doesn't make sense.
Right.
And so when people hear that, they're like, that's not a thing, is
Right.
it? But I love your baby story.
Oh my gosh, my little boy, he says, I said, well, you know, what does that mean to you? And he said, well, a lot of times if you do really good at things, people get mad and they don't like you for it. So they just hate on you. So they hate on you because you're doing good. So the better you do, the more people don't like you. That's so true.
It is so true.
The fear of people being jealous of you, of people hating on you, of people, taking away your success. That's a fear. It's real. And my 9-year-old little boy knows that.
Isn't that crazy?
Yes.
How intuitive is that? And we don't know that because we just kind of go through our life and just do things.
Right.
And I kind of intuitively feel too that, when you came in, you had not really even integrated that knowledge because you were like, I'm not afraid of succeeding. But then yet you could resonate with people hating on you because you're beautiful or because you're successful or because the world sees this outside.
Right. Like that it's the same fear, but I looked at it totally different. You know what I mean? So yeah, I've never even thought of fear of success, but absolutely when I look at it in my little 9-year-old's eyes, you are exactly right. You are exactly right. So we totally resonated on that level for sure.
Yeah. And it's easy to play small because it feels safe on so many levels because we fear that rejection and we feel rejection is a failure to us.
Right. And you can go so unnoticed when you're safe and you're small. You're not noticed. People don't notice you to be mean to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, you don't get the haters.
Right.
Yeah. I love Marilyn Monroe had this saying one time, and she's like, if people hate you, you're succeeding.
Yes.
So we don't want people to hate us, but we want to be authentic. And I tell people, it's kind of like the people that you had the struggle getting them to do the interviews. I always tell people, it's really not always about you. And like even in the gym,
100%.
You're a trainer, it's like people come in and you say, no one's even noticing you in the gym.
No.
And so personalizing giving them the power of what they think about you is really strange. And then there's that other aspect of just the value of thinking, because I used to be terrified of public speaking. Now getting on a camera is no big deal. Public speaking was a whole nother ballgame.
Right.
And what I found was smaller groups were actually worse for me than stadiums of 1,000 people because now you're looking at them in the eye and now you're dealing with the potential rejection.
Much more personal.
It's much more personal on that level. And I think that's where the panic kind of comes up. And so I always tell people, when they're on camera, just pretend you're just talking to me. Don't worry about the camera.
Right. Just have a conversation.
And then I also tell them sometimes it's about the message. And when I would speak, I would just understand that whoever was supposed to be there was supposed to be there, and that the message was what was important, and that if you believe whatever is bigger than you, your spirit, whatever that is they're supposed to be there to hear that message.
Right.
And when you just relax and lower your resistance, that just comes through you to them.
That was amazing.
Yeah. So sometimes when we're talking to our people or we're looking for testimonials or these stories, if we can maybe just tell them, this is not about you failing. It's not about people thinking anything about you. And what I've noticed is about the people that we finally got to do the interviews, they're real. And they're not afraid of being real
100%.
on many levels.
Yes,
so.
They're ready for that. They were ready to share that, right? She was ready. What is my excuse? She was ready.
Yeah. Easy to pull out at that point. All right, we're going to take a little break, and when we come back, we're going to have Evelyn's story.
Love Evelyn.
And it's just a fun story, and she's got such a dynamic personality.
Yes.
We'll be right back.
In 2007, I was in an auto accident. A lady ran a red light and hit us, and I got a traumatic brain injury, and I got herniated and collapsed and compressed discs in my upper and lower back. I also fell down the stairs at work years ago, like 20-some years ago, and I had an ankle injury. The day that I was supposed to have my consult with the surgeon so that I could have surgery done on it, I had called over here and I got an appointment with Dr. Tammy. I was more excited to come in and have something actually done for it that didn't require surgery and a bunch of downtime. She's been using stem cells, and she put the stem cells in my ankle the first time, and up until that I had been completely on the cane. I couldn't get around without the cane because it was that bad. And she put an injection in the front and one on each side, and that night I was off the cane. By the time I got home, I didn't need the cane anymore, and I haven't used it since. And my back, where I've got all the disc issues and things, I haven't had any pain in it. It's been awesome. Yes, I just got my first dose on Friday, and today is Tuesday. And after the accident, my brain was so hot. Inside my head was always hot, and that contributed a lot with the headaches. And after I got the stem cells on Friday, my head is so cool, and the inside is cool, and I just feel so enlightened and awake, just more alert all the time. And it's like they keep working for 3 months, and I'm just so excited to see, okay, in 3 months, if it's this different and amazing already, what's it going to be in 3 months?
Hi, welcome back to the Naked Doctor Show. I'm Dr. Tammy.
And I'm Crystal.
And today's show is Unstoppable. We're identifying the things that people want in their life, their goals, and the things that make them feel unstoppable, and then what's stopping them.
What is stopping them?
So we have Evelyn's story. We're going to cut to that, and then we'll come back and talk about what's making her stop.
I would get out of my comfort zone and do something that I've always wanted to do but have always feared not doing. Traveling and just starting a random job. And it sounds weird because it's like, why would you travel out of state just to work somewhere that you could work here? But I guess I just want the experience. I don't want to be trapped forever. Fear of failing. That's really it. I don't want to fail and have to come back and then kind of admit to it. I guess fear that that inner thought in the back of my head is right. I went through a lot at a young age, so I guess it would be fear of being put back in a position that I felt I couldn't escape out of anymore. Fear of being trapped somewhere where I don't want to be trapped, with people I truly don't want to be with, when in reality, I know I can really escape.
Whew.
Evelyn's powerful.
She is.
Yeah.
You can feel everything she has to say.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
There's so many elements, again, in Evelyn's story that I think a lot of people can resonate with.
Mm-hmm.
She's real. She's got her fears. She's not afraid to call them out. But I think even on the undersurface, we could peel that onion so many layers.
Oh, 100%. Yes.
And one of the things I want to do, if you hang tight, is in the last segment, we're going to talk about how to really get through those layers.
Right.
But as far as Evelyn goes, I think it's interesting because we know a little background story on her. Mm-hmm. And as a friend, you know, we have that perspective that other people don't. But it's interesting because I can only imagine from what I know about her that in childhood sometimes it's so easy to feel trapped, and especially if you have a challenging childhood, any kind of trauma that happens, and then it's not about playing small, it's just about getting out of the way. It's about feeling safe.
Right.
So fear of failure is a whole nother ball game because she's not even thinking about what would it feel like to be a superstar or successful or have that thing I want. It's just survival.
Right. She knows what it's like to be in the survival mode and having to survive. So she's very scared of having to go back there, getting trapped back there. It's not the fear of success. She's not seeing the bright, shiny lights. It's the fear of, plus it's her and a little girl now. It's not just her anymore, you know? So if she fails for two, not just her.
That's powerful.
It
Fails
is.
for two.
Yes. And she knows that. She knows that little girl depends on her. So I'm sure that has a lot to do with fear of getting trapped somewhere too. So
I think being a mother, you know, they say eating for two and you're pregnant. I never thought about failing for two.
Oh, absolutely.
And sometimes just that shift in your thinking, once you recognize that, once you get that other layer under that, if you could see that you could also succeed for two.
Oh, yes.
And I think that a lot of people do that just unconsciously, because my mom always said before I ever had my baby, which is why I waited really late in my life, make sure you can afford to have kids before you do. And she was terrified it was going to interfere with me going to med school or, you know, whatever.
Right.
And med school itself was safe for me because we were talking about before the show. I wanted to grow up to be a star, a TV star. I wanted to be a supermodel. And Mom was like, nope, you're going to go do the safe thing.
You got to take that safe route.
Stay in that, you know. And most people would look at that and go, well, you're a doctor. How is that? safe. But for me, the comparison to the life I wanted, the unstoppable, was
Right.
that was
the
the
doctor
safe
was
route.
the safe route. Right.
Made a good living, I could just kind of take care of my kid. And so when she said, make sure that you can afford to have your baby, I waited till I got out of med school and then, had my baby.
Wow.
And so to me, that was being safe for him.
Right.
And then when I kind of got back into the TV zone, which I kind of dabbled in modeling and TV a little bit, when I said, hey, I'm going to do this for me, and I'm going to create this show, and I'm going to create a message, it was hard because I remember him crying. I remember the first time I was in my little hometown, and I had set up this whole show. I had my sponsors, I had my guests, and I remember leaving that first day. He's standing out on the driveway crying, I want to go with you, Mommy.
Oh.
Because everything outside my work life, I included him
Was
in
him,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, and so one time I actually did try to take him, and we kept having to take breaks because he's trying to crawl up on the stage and stuff. And at one point, we always did the show as like one take and go. It was like, it's okay, him crawling up on the stage because, it kind of fit
It'll
into
add
it.
to it, yeah.
But you don't want that. So,
No.
so I think that success for two, sometimes you have to make that compromise, make
Oh,
that
yeah.
sacrifice a little bit. And it's not always that you're being selfish. It's that you're giving more. It's like the oxygen
Right.
mask. You got to put that on yourself
Gotta
first.
put it on yourself first. I explain that to my son all the time. Like if he doesn't understand why I have to work or why I have to go somewhere, I'm like, look, man, we couldn't have all these things if I don't go do this. You know what I mean? Like we can't go to Colorado and have a week-long fishing trip, the things that you love doing, unless Mommy goes to work, So I absolutely love him. Anything that I accomplish, I let him know. Everything I accomplish and I succeed in, I'm like, guess what Mom did this week? You know what I mean? Because I want him to see me succeed all the time. I want him to know that that is something you be proud of. You know what I mean? So I think it's amazing for your kids to watch you do things, even the working out aspect, when people ask me, can my kid come to class? 100%. Please bring your kid. Let your kid watch you struggle and sweat and want to quit and keep going. Please let them sit there and watch it because it's awesome.
Teach them well.
My son loves it. Yeah, he will sit there in the corner and watch me teach the whole class and tell me how amazing I did afterwards. Like your kids
Your little
want
cheer session.
Yes, they want to see their moms look good, So succeed for 2 or 3 or 4, however many you have.
Absolutely. It's funny you said that because I really just started working out when he was little. So that's 12 years ago, 2 or 3, and he's, I've just, we share this, really interesting bond, but I always felt like time was the only investment time was the only thing I could really give him.
Right.
And I came from a mom who I could go anywhere with her. She never went anywhere that I couldn't go with her.
Well, back then she could take you to the bar.
I know, right? She totally could.
No big deal.
She totally could. So I remember it was like, I didn't like my body shape, and I always wore really big clothes. And so one day I was just walking through the mall.
I remember those days.
I was walking through the mall, and I saw these cute little clothes, and I was like, I could do that. And, I had a lot of female hormone problems, so I carried all my weight in my hips. And so that's what I was covering up.
Right.
And plus I'm really tall, so to get clothes to fit in the sleeves and things like that, from rolled up sleeves, I had to wear extra big clothes.
Right.
And so I was like, well, if I'm going to wear those cute little things, I've got to put some work into this. So I remember I ordered an exercise tape, and it literally sat on my TV stand for a month before I got up the nerve to put it in. Fear of failure. I think really I was afraid that if I put that in, that's a step towards my commitment to doing
100%.
something. And I remember when I finally did put it in, he's like pulling at me and wanting his mommy time.
Of course,
and
of course.
I just had to really get outside my head and say, if I stay fit and I stay agile, I'm an older mom. I had him later in life, and I want to be there for his graduation. I want to be there for my grandbabies. And so I was succeeding for 2.
Absolutely.
Not failing being a mom in that moment.
Yes. Yes, 100%. I have a lot of people that when they first start, I tell them, when you said you let that video sit on top of your TV for fear of failure, a lot of people, I tell them, post your goals on your Facebook. Let everybody know. I started working out. Check this out. I'm doing this every week, because guess what? On Tuesday, when you don't want to show up for class, you're going to know, people are going to wonder, why did she not post her Tuesday class? So you're going to get your butt up and go to Tuesday class because you posted that. You know what I mean? Because you put it out there. This is what I want to change. So I think that's awesome to also use as a tool for fear of failure, to put it out there. Let your goals be known. You know what I mean? Don't hide from them.
Yeah.
Don't let that videotape sit on top of your TV for a month.
And I think, they have broke down this thing called the stages of readiness and the model of readiness. And so there's these stages, and the first stage is contemplation. So that was normal for me, that you start thinking, okay, I've decided my why.
Right.
And then you decide your how, and baby steps, right? So it was okay for that to sit there for a time. But at some point, which is good because I set it out there so I'd see it, right? I didn't just hide it in the closet.
I'm going to have to clean around it or something. Put it in, maybe.
People come over, what's that? So I already kind of put it out there, right? And so at some point, you got to put it in. But I think what keeps you from putting it used to be VCRs. Now it's like you click a button on your phone. But just to put that in was a big step for me. And I just told myself, I don't have to get through the whole thing.
Right.
I don't have to look like these people. I didn't even set my intention that I wanted to get in those cute little clothes at the mall. I just set my intention that I want this because I want this other why.
In the future, you want to be there for your son, you
Absolutely.
know? I mean, cool. That would be awesome to fit in those tiny little clothes. But the real why was 10 years down the road. You know what I mean? When he wants to go play football outside and you're like, football?
You have to know that why before you can even start that first step of that journey. So baby steps, but the why just kind of stays out here, and make your why something that, because we're givers and as women, and this applies to men too, but it's like we all want to give and we all want to do. Men just kind of do it in a little different. Men compartmentalize a little bit more. Women multitask more. So it's even harder for us to rein it in and focus in on what it is that's success and that one thing. So just powerful stuff to just always keep in mind that you're not just succeeding for you, you're succeeding for other people too.
So push yourself.
Push yourself, and it's okay. And those stages of contemplation, you'll get there when you're ready. And then when you're ready, you take that next step, and you take that next step, and then you work on your goals of maintaining. Too.
Right.
So
and then you're only showing your children that that's how you're supposed to go on in life. You know what I mean? If they see you struggle but succeed and struggle but succeed. You know, what my son was telling me was, my biggest fear of failing is that I'll never be able to do it again. And my biggest
ability.
Right. He was like, if I fail, then I'll never be able to do it. And for me, fear of failure is, if I fail, that's motivation to try again. Oh, I better try again. But for my little boy, it was fear of, that's it. That was the only chance I got. I can't ever do that again. You know what I mean? So.
And so people think, I only got one chance at this too. So you have to get out of that mindset.
So teaching your kids to keep pushing on is huge. Succeed for two. I love it.
I love it. All right, we're going to take a little break, and we'll be back, and we're going to talk about 3 things you can ask yourself to get to the bottom of, we won't say the dirty word excuse, but to get to your why and what's stopping you.
What's going on?
Welcome back. Today's been a great show, and we promised you that we're going to give you 3 very specific tools that can help you get to the bottom of your fear of success or fear of failure, whatever your fear is, because really, I think we've just kind of talked about that excuses are really just fears.
It's that word again.
The dirty word. So I think one of the ways that you can do that, we'll call this number 1, is to ask yourself, is that really true?
Probably not. Do I really not have enough time in the day? We could really break it down for you.
And to tell somebody and, kind of working towards defining what unstoppable is and what that means for you, to talk to somebody and to really let them objectively go, really?
Yeah.
Because if you told me it was a time thing, kind of like in the interviews, I said, is it really time? And, well, no, not really. So
Right.
Is it true?
Does Jaden really have basketball practice at 6 o'clock so you just can't do it? Because can his best friend not drop him off at home for you? I bet he could.
Are there options?
Yes,
Yeah.
there are usually options.
So the next thing would be talk to somebody objectively and get those solutions maybe, or to when you start that journey, maybe
help.
putting yourself out there, get help.
Yes, everybody needs help.
It's not a weakness.
Absolutely
It is not a weakness to
There's
ask for
no
help.
way I could get everything accomplished I get accomplished if I didn't ask for help. There's just no way. Absolutely. I don't mind at all. If I need help, babe, please help me do this. He will tell you. My husband will tell you I ask for his help all the time.
So number 2 would be ask for help. And whether
Yes,
that's just an
ask.
objective view on, you've asked yourself, is this true? Then that objective view is, do you
Right.
think that's true?
Hey, be
What do you
honest with
see?
me. I need help. Can you just be honest with me? Break this down,
And that's got to be a friend who's going to be willing to be real with you.
Yes. Make sure it's somebody that loves you.
Yes. And the last thing is just spend some time with that, prioritizing what those fears are and what those mean and where does success show up for you. Because once
Right.
you do that, then you can really, truly become unstoppable.
Right.
Because you just got to call that stuff out and be willing and be real. And it's hard because your friends want you to like them and they don't want to hurt your feelings. So you've got to kind of preface that with, I know that this might seem like you might hurt my feelings, but
Right.
I really want to know how you know me and what you see.
And if they've been your friend for a long time and they really know you, they'll already have it sitting there waiting to
Yeah.
tell you.
Yeah.
They'll already be
Isn't that
like,
funny? Oh,
well, this is where you could do better.
That's a hard one because if you ask, do these pants make my butt look big?
Right.
Then if
You're
they
in
say
trouble.
yes, then you're in trouble. If they say no, you're like, well, you just said that because you're my
Right,
friend.
right.
So you got to get somebody who's being willing to be real with you.
Absolutely.
This has been a great show this week. Thank you so
Yes.
much, Crystal. I'm so excited about this 4-part series.
Me
We're
too.
going to do these interviews and we're going to dissect people pretty hard and we're going to get
Yes.
real and we're going to say, is this true? And we're going to just break that down for you. So you're going to want to stay tuned with us. We're on thenakeddoctorshow.com. We're on Facebook. You can visit us there. We have a YouTube channel. We're on Instagram. Come check us out. Lots of other
everywhere.
videos. And just have a blessed week. We love you very much. And we want the best for you. And we want you to absolutely be
Grow.
unstoppable.
Grow.
Grow. See you next week.